Hi friends, welcome to my channel, and today in this video I am going to show you how to install and configure SQL Server 2012 failover cluster. So let's have some idea about my demo environment. In my demo environment I am using 3 virtual machines to give you the demo of SQL Server failover installations and configuration. So I have one server with Active Directory and DNS installed, and I am using uh, two nodes, you can say. One is SQL SRV01 and second one is SQL SRV02. So here is my Active Directory server, which is, you can verify here, name win2k12 r2dc01. If you want to check out, here is my server. I have installed Active Directory and DNS role here. If you go to my local server, you can verify my domain name, which is victorinfosol.com, and here is my Active Directory domain control win2k12 r2dc01. And you can also verify my LAN address, which is 192.168.1.192.168.1.254. So this is my Active Directory server basically. And second, I have my first node SQL SRV01. You can verify from here, SQL SRV01. I have joined this machine in my domain victorinfosol.com, and I have two nick on both the nodes. You can say one for heartbeat and one for basic LAN connectivity with my Active Directory server, my storage, and my storage sandbox or iSCSI target, and one for heartbeat. Both are I'm using both in different subnets. So you can verify for heartbeat 192.172.161.11, and for the LAN 192.168.1.253. And same as you can verify SQL Server SRV02. I have joined this machine in domain, and I have assigned the IP addresses 1.2 for heartbeat and 1.52 for my LAN connectivity. So this is basically, I have not installed yet any feature, any role, anything on both the SQL Server nodes. So this is the fresh machine. I have just installed operating system, I have connected with my domain, I have configured 2 IP address, that's all. I have not touch or not done any configuration, anything for now. So let's get a let's get started and step by step installation and configuration. So the first task is install Failover Cluster Multipathing and .NET 3.5 on feature on both nodes. So I have two nodes, so I am going on my first node and manage and add role and features. Click next, and here is my server selected. Click next, and I need to install .NET 3.5 failover cluster and multipathing, as I have mentioned in my PPT. You can say failover cluster, multipathing, and .NET. So I have selected all the three, and for .NET I require the Windows disk, Windows installation media, and I'm going to open the source and SSX, and this path is basically required for 3.5 installation. So click OK and proceed with installation. So .NET 3.5 failover cluster and multipathing. Click on install button, and same I am going to do on my second cluster. Add role and features, maximize it, click next, and my server is selected here. Click next, and here you need to click next and select .NET 3.5 failover cluster, add required features, it's asking for some features, and multipathing IO. Click next, and need to mention the path for SSX folder. You can verify here. Click OK and install. So it will take some time to get the installation done for these features, so we can proceed with like next step, which is install and create iSCSI target disk on Win2K12 R2DC01. So I'm going on my DC01. I'm going to use create a virtual you can say virtual iSCSI target for my storage, which I am going to use in my cluster storage. So I'm going to click on from dashboard, file and storage services, iSCSI, and here you can see to install iSCSI target server, start the add role and features. So I'm going to click add role and features wizard, and my server is by default selected here. So you can see the required roles are uh, by default selected iSCSI target server. Just need to click next, and you can see here file and iSCSI services, iSCSI target server. Click on install button. So it will create, like you can see, one it will install iSCSI target on our server, Active Directory server, and after that we can create a few like virtual disk and virtual target, which I need to connect with this storage and my both nodes, SQL Server nodes. So just wait for a few more seconds to get the installation done. So it will take some time. So here we are, installation is succeed. We can close this, and now if I refresh this, and if you go to node 1 and node 2, both are like SRV01 and SRV02, installation for features are still running. So now you can see, to create an iSCSI initiator, start with the new iSCSI virtual disk. So I'm going to click on here, and it will give you my like few options to create a virtual disk. So the first option is select iSCSI virtual disk location. So I have only one disk attached with like one volume attached with my Active Directory server. There is only C drive in my server, so no worries, I am going to use my C drive. Just click next, and my disk name, so I'm going to like provide VD01 virtual disk 01, so it will automatically create folder and C drive iSCSI virtual disk is. So click on next, and here we are. We need to first, I'm going to select create a 10 GB. I'm going to use dynamic expandable disk, and this is basically for quorum disk, and click next. And I'm going to use a new iSCSI target because it's my first, so I'm going to define VD01 target and click next. And it is asking for access servers, means which server can access this disk. So I'm going to define my both nodes here. So advanced, going to find my Active Directory environment is very small for now, so I can see my both server and Active Directory server only. So first I'm going to select 01 and click OK, and this will add my 01 server here, SRV01 server. And the same way I need to select SQL-SRV02 server, so both server are able to access this disk. So it will take some time. So same way, going to add my second SQL server, advanced, find SQL-SRV02, click OK, and click OK. So it will add my both server here. So both server are added here. Click next, and I am not going to use any authentication, so click leave it default. Next, and here is the all information like disk size, target name, the access server, and other details. So click on create, so it will create a new disk, new virtual disk for us, and also define the target. So we have a folder iSCSI virtual disk here, as we have selected the dynamically expandable disk, so it will the size of disk right now is only near about 4 MB. So we are done with first disk, everything is completed successfully. Close it, and now I'm going to define a second disk here. So new iSCSI disk, and going to place it in C drive as well as my last disk. So here VD02, and click next, and I'm going to use my like 100 GB. So it's dynamic expandable as well as like previous one. So going to create new target, and VD02 target, and click next, and the access server, I'm going to define my both SRV01 and SRV02 servers here. So both server is added. Click next, leave the authentication, and here's the all information. Click on create, so it will create second disk. Here you can see we have virtual disk 1 and virtual disk 2, and you can see the status iSCSI connected or not. And if you go a little bit down, you can see the other detail like properties. You can see the initiator detail and other details like initiators, security, connections, these details. So click on OK, and now you can see the status virtual disk status not connected and target status is not connected. So we need to launch the we need to connect these both disk on both the nodes, which is my SQL-01 and SQL-02. So you can see from now installation succeed on SRV02, so we can close it, and we can do one thing. First open the disk management tool here on both the disk, and you can see SRV01 is also done with installation. So close and open the disk management here also. So what I am going to do, I'm going to change the default letter here. You can say okay, leave it just by leave it all the information. Just open the, you can say iSCSI initiator to connect the target, and it's asking the Microsoft iSCSI service is not running, so the service is required to start function connected correctly. So yes, I want to start the iSCSI initiator, and same I'm going to do on my second server. So iSCSI initiator is started, and I'm going to put my iSCSI target IP address, which is my Active Directory server 1.254 connect, and I have two disks here you can see, and connect the both and click OK, and now you can see the both are connected, and under the here you can verify volumes as well as we got the two disks. And same going to do on second. I'm going to put my IP address details, quick connect, and connect the both target. You can see login success. Click OK, and if you click on auto config, click OK, and do one thing, go to first machine, and you can see we have two disks here and our disk management. So bring the online both disk, So you can see not initialize, click on initialize disk. It will give you option for both disk and click OK. So the first disk I'm going to use, like, click next, next. So the 10 GB disk I'm going to use for quorum disk, so I'm going to define like Q as a drive letter, next, and I'm going to type here like quorum disk and click next, finished. And same I'm going to do with like second disk. Just wait for a few seconds. So here you can see the quorum disk is added, and same I'm going to do with my do one thing. Let's put a D drive, and I'm going to change my CD drive letter as a Z drive. Click OK. Yes, so it will change the drive letter and put it like, click next, next, and it's now it's D drive. So put here like SQL this, click on next, finish. So just refresh my computer, and now you can see my OS drive, my D drive like SQL disk, and my quorum disk, and Z drive as my DVD drive. And I'm going to refresh few things on my SRV02. Here I'm going to just bring online boot disk. You need to refresh here. Online, and just online this too. So I'm going to change the drive letter as I'm using in my you can say on my SRV01. So Z drive. So going to put Z drive for my CD drive here, and my quorum disk going to use Q drive, and my SQL drive as a tree drive. So the all drive are mapped as same as I have done on my SQL Server 01. Here you can see both have the same configuration. You can now close the disk management. So almost we are done with first and second steps. So just check out what is the next step. So here we are. So we are done with like discovering iSCSI target disk and connect on both nodes. So we are done with this, and now I am going to do one thing. I am going to validate and create cluster. So before this you can see our network setting, LAN and heartbeat on second, and LAN and heartbeat on same. So we are done with like network part, we are done with the storage part, so we can good to go to validate the cluster. So I'm going to click on tools, failover cluster manager. So it's adding snapping. So here we are, failover cluster manager, and I'm going to click on validate configuration. So this is validation configuration wizard. Going to click next and select the servers or a cluster. So I'm going to select my servers, both SQL Server Node 1 and SQL Server Node 2. So I'm going to create the cluster with these two servers. So click next, and test option you can you can like provide the run only test which you select. You can select from here like network, whatever you want to run, but in my scenario I recommend you to run the all test, and Microsoft also recommend to run all test. So I'm going to click on next, and now it will verify your cluster, validate your cluster configurations. So here is all the things which we are going to check during the cluster validation. So click next, and now you can see it started and it's verifying few things are the test passed. So it will take 1 or 2 minutes to get the test for all the required things which is required in Windows Server cluster. So it's just wait for a few minutes. So it's still validating. So we need to run the cluster validation wizard on any of the single node which you want to participate. So it will check for both or whatever nodes you want to run in, you want to select in validation wizard. So in my scenario it will check the both servers. So it's getting data about node 2 now, node 1. So for till now we can see all the test is passed only, nothing has failed, so it's looking good. So the validation is almost done, about to complete. So you can see validation is complete, and now if you check like reports, click on view reports. You can verify the report if there was any warning, any error. So cancel it. So we are good to go, like inventory success, network success, storage success, and system information success. So everything is completed successfully. So if you want to save this report for future, you can save like you can save this as like web page complete. So you can save it here on a desktop, saving web page. So now you can close this, and if you want to check the report again, you can do from here, like launch here, and you will get the all report once again. For future reference, if you want to save it, you can save it. Like we are good. And if I click on finished, here is one checkbox, create the cluster now using the validated node. So click on finish. So it will launch the create cluster wizard, and click next, and it will ask for the cluster name. So I'm going to put here SQL, or you can say Win SQL cluster. So I'm going to use like IP addresses. In my scenario, I'm going to use 251 is next free available, so click next. So it will give you like some information, the IP address for cluster, virtual host, oh, and the cluster name and this. So click next, and now you can see it's creating the cluster. So it will take few minutes to like create the cluster and add the node, required storage, and required networking configuration to Failover Cluster Manager. So almost done, and you have successfully completed the create cluster wizard. Click on finish. Now you can see the Failover Cluster Manager with cluster, with SQL cluster. So it will take some time, and now you can see we have a WinSQL cluster. And if you want to verify the details like name of the cluster, IP of the cluster, and cluster disk, any information you can verify from here. So here is our quorum disk. So expand it, and node also install till we will install the SQL server soon. So next nodes, we have two nodes like SQL-SRV01, SRV02, both are up and under the storage. You can see our both disk like quorum disk and the SQL server disk. So I'm going to rename it, like call it quorum disk, so we can easily identify this. And the second disk is SQL disk, so I'm going to define here SQL disk, apply, okay. And under the networking you can see we have two NIC, and one is for cluster only. So if you click on properties, you can see allow cluster management communication on this network. So this is basically heartbeat. So I'm going to type heartbeat here, and the second one is our LAN, which is connected with iSCSI and my AD server. So I'm going to put here LAN, apply, and here allow manage cluster network communication on this network, and allow client to connect through this network. So we are done here. And now if you go and check in Active Directory, I just want to show you under the India, open the servers, and now you can see the new uh, virtual host is automatically created in our Active Directory, which is win-sql-cluster, and in description you can see failover cluster virtual network name account. So this is created here, and if you want to ping it, you can ping like ping minus A192.168.1.251, sorry, 2 151, and you have to put like DNS record. It's not updated yet, so reverse lookup need to be done. So on the forward we have the detailed here, so I'm going to put here the reverse lookup record, and now you can verify the same. It will take some time to update. So after all, we are getting the reply from our cluster node which we have just created. So what is the next step? So we are done with the basic configure the basic setting for cluster. So the next step is install SQL Server 2012 Failover cluster. So now I'm going with the next step, which is install SQL Server Failover cluster, and I'm going to mount the installation media of SQL Server, my DVD drive on node 1. So SQL Server 2012, click OK, and double click the installation media. So the SQL Server Installation Center, click on installation, and here we are going to click on new SQL Server Failover cluster installation. So it will launch the SQL Server Failover cluster installation wizard for in a few seconds. It's checking the few rules like setup administrator and few more details. So everything is passed successfully. Click on OK. So it will launch the installation screen. So I'm going to use the evaluation version here. Click next. I accept the license term. Click next. And product check, no, don't want to check for product. My server is not connected with internet. So it's copying the installation setup files in a drive. So everything passed, few warning, few related to firewall and like distributed transaction coordinator, these things. So we can escape from here. Click next, and SQL Server feature installation, click next, and now we need to select the feature. So I'm going to select SQL database engine service, and you can say management tool also. So click next. So it's like checking some prerequisites for selected features. So cluster supported for addition passed, and Visual Studio Instant is also passed. Click on next. So here it is asking for SQL Server network name. So I'm going to define here like SQL cluster 01, and I'm going to use the default name instance for SQL Server. Click next, and now it will check for like disk and cluster resource. So we are done here. Click next. So we have like available storage, cluster group, both. Click next. And now we have like a disk which is available for cluster. So SQL disk is available. Click next and specify the IP address for our cluster node. So 192.168.1.250 I'm going to use. Click next, and now put the service account information. So I'm going to use like vector info sol slash SQL admin account, and the password for account is here. So password is same. So I'm going to use the same account for SQL Server Agent and SQL Server Database Engine. Click next. So I'm going to use like Windows authentication here, and in the data directories you can verify few things like where we are going to save data root directory, data like user database directory, user database log, and tempdb and temp local db, these information, and backup directory. So all I'm going to use D drive, as my D drive is a cluster SQL disk which is coming from cluster. Click on next, and click one more next, and everything is passed. And now we can click on next, and this will give you all the information which we are going to perform during this installation. So click on install. So now once the installation is finished, you can see here the role which is SQL is installed here, and we can see the SQL instance running here. So it will take some time to get the installation done for SQL. So I'm pausing the recording here. Once the SQL Server installation is done, we'll back soon. So just wait for a few seconds. It will start the installation like. So the SQL installation is started, and just wait for like 10 to 15 minutes depending on the speed of your server and speed of your machine for the installation get done. So just wait. Pausing the recording here. So here you can see installation is completed, and we all like everything is completed successfully. And if you go and close this, and here under the roles you can verify we have SQL Server MySQL role which is running, and same if you launch the failover cluster from second node. So here is the information. MySQL Server is instant name, and the current owner is SQL Server SRV01. And if you go to properties here, you can see like the information. Just wait for a few seconds. So we are at the last step, verify SQL Server cluster role on Windows failover cluster. So we have like a preferred owner. I am going to select the both host as a preferred owner and priority as a high. So under the failover you can see maximum fail in the specified period, 1 period hours. So these details, and click OK, and here you can see the status running, priority high, owner node, SQL hyphen server 01 client access name and IP address. So under the resource you can verify the resources like the name and IP address, the resources, SQL Server and SQL Agent, and the SQL Disk. So this is all about the creating the SQL Server cluster on Windows Server on a Windows Failover cluster. So on the node 2 you can verify the same also. So finally we are done with all the installation and configuration and validation. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe me for more videos, and if you have any question, any suggestion related to this video, please let me know on my given mail ID. Thank you once again. Bye bye.